Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Knockers on the Bottom. I'm your host, Jay Mill. Jay Miller, if you like. So let's get into it. So today I want to take a look at the Cleveland Browns offense and what type of trouble they'll present for the Cowboys defense. And, some places where we also might be able to have an advantage to help us in this game. So I watched a few games of theirs from last year. I know some of the personnel has changed, but since there's no film from this year and I don't really want to take anything from the preseason, I kind of used some late in the season games last year, and some games where I thought maybe we have a similar matchup. So I used Seattle of last year. I used the Houston game from last year, and I used the Jets game from last year. Now, with us having a new coordinator, Mike Zimmer, we don't 100% know what our defense is going to look like, too. So, because it's the first game of the year, we're kind of going off a lot of hypotheticals. But as you'll see as we go on throughout the season, data will come in, trends will start to happen, and players will emerge. Some will play worse than we thought, some will play better than we thought, and then we'll be able to look at these matchups with a little bit more accuracy. But I'm going to do a best I can based off of what I have, like I said, new season. So just looking at their starters, the first person that, if you were to ask me, who are you worried about the most, it's David Njoku. So because we don't have any knowledge on the Mike Zimmer defense as far as what it's going to look like with this personnel and this version of it, I am kind of trying to figure out how they're going to match up with David Njoku. He's a big, fast, strong tight end. His hands are good, but sometimes they can be a little questionable. But for the most part, I mean, the guy can play. But I don't know who the Cowboys have here, because you don't want to put someone like Donovan Wilson on him, right? Njoku's too big for that type of safety. And then you also have Deron Bland's out, so you kind of want to shift some of your cornerback depth and kind of just keep them on the receivers. So do you match up with a linebacker here? I'm thinking you might want to go with DeMarion Overshown, since he's very athletic. He's got some nice size. He's got some speed. He used to be a safety in college. Now, you don't want to shadow Njoku with DeMarvion Overshown, because you don't want to really put your linebacker in a position to have to just walk with the tight end wherever he goes. It takes away from other parts of your defense. So I feel like the Cowboys, if they are in a coverage where they are man-to-man and not necessarily mix, match, and zone, because Zimmer's scheme is going to be a lot more complicated as far as what they show the opposition than Dan Quinn's was. It's not necessarily going to be a lineup and just go. Years past, when it was a lineup and go, we would take Jaron Curse, throw him on David Njoku, and say, good luck, Njoku. And most of the time, Curse did a great job against these tight ends, but Jaron Curse is no longer here. So it's probably going to be a little bit of a mix and a match. You're going to have some Eric Kendricks there in coverage. You're going to have some DeMarvion Overshown there in coverage, especially since he's a weak side linebacker. But you're also going to have zone drops where Njoku is going to get matched up on whoever zone he goes into. So that could be a corner, that could be a safety, that could be your slot guy, Jordan Lewis, which Jordan Lewis is a fighter, but I see David Njoku. He's going to give the Cowboys problems, in my opinion, just because of his size, strength, speed combination, and not necessarily knowing how we're going to take on the challenge of having him, barreling down on your coverage. So that's the first guy. Amari Cooper, second one, and for a multitude of reasons. One, Trayvon Diggs is coming back this year from a torn ACL. So if we look at the Cowboys' recent history of players coming back from torn ACLs, I mean, you have Michael Gallup, who was never the same player again. You had Jabril Cox, who didn't have much experience to begin with, and now he's pretty much out of the league or maybe on somebody's practice squad somewhere. So, and then you had Terrence Steele, who took till maybe around week 11, week 12 last year to kind of start to look a little bit like himself. So I'm thinking week one, you've got, the ACL that Diggs is coming from, and you got a guy like Amari Cooper an expert level route runner. I know sometime during this offseason, we were talking about running your routes at the same speed, not giving body language cues and tips for your breaks, being late with your hands. Amari Cooper is an expert at all of this, as well as body control. He makes some of the most athletic, most well-timed, I don't know, maybe I'm aging myself here, but, Chris Carter used to play for the Minnesota Vikings, and he had a real good knack for just getting his feet right down on the sideline with just maybe centimeters of space and getting his hands out there and making the catch and being in bounds with both of the tags, both of the toes. Amari Cooper has some expert toe drag swag, so that's going to be a challenge. Because Trayvon Diggs has just come back from the knee injury. It's not that I think Trayvon Diggs is not a good player. If Trayvon Diggs never had a knee injury last year and he was going into this game, I would feel a little bit better. But you can't control also who Amari Cooper is going to be matched up on all the time. Let's say Trayvon Diggs does have a good game and, is showing no ill effects from the knee. Okay, awesome. Amari Cooper lines up on the left side. Amari Cooper lines up on the right side. Amari Cooper lines up in the slot. Amari Cooper goes in motion. They use him so many different ways that even if your cornerback situation was ideal, it's hard to control the matchup. Trayvon Diggs is an outside corner. They don't usually line him up in the slot. Now, some weeks they will have him travel with the best wide receiver, and I'm sure we'll see that a lot this year. But the reason why it's also going to be a challenge is because someone on the roster like Jerry Jeudy. So they made the trade for Jerry Jeudy, the Cleveland Browns did. They got him in there. That kind of tips the balance for their offense here because you have Njoku in the tight end. That's going to be a tough matchup. Then you have Amari Cooper, an expert route runner on the outside. And then if you're, locking both of those guys up, which most teams most weeks are not going to be able to do, now you have Jerry Jeudy in there, and Jerry Jeudy's a speedster himself, and he's pretty good. He's been dealing with the Broncos shit show, at quarterback for the last couple years. So now he's here. He might have a situation where he can have somebody that actually can get him the ball a little bit more consistently. And as our defense, we're going to have a problem because Kalen Carson is a rookie. So if I'm the Cowboys, it's pick your poison. Do you want to throw the rookie on the expert route runner and give him something he has not seen? And, I mean, if he wants a lesson in route running and reading route trees, I mean, this is going to be the week that he's going to get his PhD because Amari Cooper is a problem in that area. Jerry Jeudy is a good route runner, but he's nowhere near Amari Cooper, but he's a speedster. Take the top off. And he's not a small guy either. So do you put the rookie over there, but then you're leaving Trayvon Diggs, who is, like we said, coming off a knee injury. Now we're dealing with one of the guys that could put you in a spin cycle. I mean, you got a knee injury in the game, and you're going to get your ankles broken a lot. It's not a good recipe. And then you have somebody like Elijah Moore, who's a very solid third receiver. He makes tough catches in traffic. He's pretty tough going over the middle. He's kind of like, to me, the dirty work guy, right? When you need 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5, all those guys I just named are capable of doing it. But Elijah Moore can also take some of the pressure off those guys by providing some consistency there as well. So I know I'm saying all that. We're thinking, okay, what's going to happen here, man? You got Batanio, I don't know how to say his name, Joel Batanio at guard. You got Pochik at center, and you got Teller at the other guard. They provide a very nice wall for the quarterback in the middle of the offense, right? So on the games I watched, there was very little pressure up the middle. The telltale sign with Teller, when you're beating him consistently, it's that they get to his outside shoulder, his right shoulder. So defense is left side, offense is right side, because if you rush inside and he's able to combo with the center, you're not going to get anywhere. Like I think Pochik, 55, he's actually a pretty decent player. He's solid in there. So I saw, one of the times where Quinnen Williams beat him, it was on the outside shoulder. It was on a stunt. He is able to get him turned, going the other way, trying to catch the guy. What I mean by stunt is when the two defensive tackles are lined up, the defensive tackle on the left side of the center, offense is right, defense is left. He crashes hard down into that center. So he takes an inside rush. And at that time, Teller went with him, right? So he didn't understand right away. He didn't recognize that it was a stunt. So he goes to try to help combo with that block, but the other defensive tackle loops around, right? And that was Quentin Williams. And so once he recognized that stunt, he was already turned the other way. So he tried to overcompensate and turn his shoulders back to the outside to be able to wall off Williams coming around in the stunt. Williams attacked that shoulder that he was turning with power and with a nice like swim over move and beat him so quickly, got in there. The quarterback was able actually to scramble out to the left because he saw it coming and complete the pass. So it didn't end up affecting them negatively, but it's the NFL. Some weeks that's going to end up with your quarterback scrambling out and completing the pass. Other weeks your quarterback's going to be looking a completely different way going through his reads, and that guy's going to come and smack your quarterback. So hopefully we're in the type of week where we can put some of those stunts together and smack the quarterback a little bit instead of having the quarterback see it at the last second, get out and complete the pass. So if you're asking me, where do I think the Cowboys have a chance at stopping this offense consistently? I would say the first part is probably their tackles. I actually don't think the Browns have strong tackle play, which plays right into the Cowboys' hands because of Michael Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. So, those are going to be our starters. We can talk about, Marshawn Nealon as we go. We can talk about Carl Lawson, but Marshawn Nealon is a rookie and Carl Lawson's not going to be ready this week. So I'm not going to really include them much in this breakdown just because there's no film to prove anything. But what I do have film on is DeMarcus Lawrence and Michael Parsons. So as far as being able to put the brakes on the Cleveland Browns offense, that's where the Cowboys are going to be able to make the most headway on passing downs, is rushing those tackles because I don't know if our defensive tackles are necessarily going to be able to be the pressure generators. They should be the benefits of the outside pressure. So, Michael Parsons gets some pressure, beats that tackle off the snap, quarterback stepping up, and now Osa Odighizuwa is taking Teller to school, and getting off of that block and then kind of cleaning it up. That's kind of the way that we're going to have to win. I also think we're actually probably going to have to send extra pressure, which is awesome. Zimmer's great at exotic looks and exotic blitzes, mugging the A-gap and dropping people out, mugging the A-gap and sending them both. The other teams that I watched the Browns play, they didn't do any of that. So a lot of times the Browns just had a 3-on-2 up the middle, the two defensive tackles versus the three interior offensive linemen, and they were able to kind of hold their own and keep the quarterback clean so that he had a place to step up and complete passes. So I think that'll be a place where the Cowboys can do something a little bit different than other teams that play the Cleveland Browns. Now the question is going to be, when you're mugging those A-gaps, what are you doing? Is it going to be Michael Parsons still at one end, and is it going to be DeMarcus Lawrence on the other end, and then are you going to have Eric Kendricks and Overshown or Leafau mugging those gaps, and then you're having one of those dropping and one of those coming, both of those dropping, both of those coming? Are you going to take sometimes and put Golston, Chauncey Golston, and Michael Parsons' place at the defensive end? Or maybe swap, put Golston on the strong side where DeMarcus Lawrence is and have DeMarcus Lawrence go over to, where Michael Parsons normally lines up, and then you take Michael Parsons at linebacker, you put him as one of those people mugging the A-gap, along with Eric Kendricks. You take Leafau off the field, leave Overshown on the field, and now give that offense a little bit of trouble. So those are just some of the, ways that I could see Zimmer moving his pieces around. And then when you do that, you send Michael Parsons, right? And you drop one linebacker, over the middle, and then what you end up having is one-on-ones across the front of the offensive line. Now, I think 55 is a very solid center. I told you, I think he's a pretty good player, but most people can't block Michael Parsons one-on-one. When we look at the rate of, he's like the most double-teamed defender in the NFL. He actually even gets triple teams on certain plays. So if you can create one-on-one matchups across the board, I trust Micah to win that matchup. And now that's going to create the chaos in the other matchups because Osa wins pretty consistently as well. Lawrence also wins pretty consistently as well. So you get him into those passing downs, and that's going to be your way to create havoc because of the quarterback. That's my next path here to how the Cowboys put the brakes on this offense. Deshaun Watson is not the Deshaun Watson that he was in Houston. Ever since he's been in Cleveland, he's been very up and down, very inconsistent. And it just seems like because he had so much time away from football, he might not actually ever really get that, football back in him. He tends to hold on to the ball and create big plays for the opposing team instead of his own team. He also doesn't seem to be very pocket aware anymore. So if you're creating those mismatches and Deshaun Watson's back there and he's holding on to the ball, I mean, you got a chance for a sack strip fumble to get the ball out. You have a chance of him throwing an interception because he's under duress and doesn't necessarily know where to go with the ball. So he's going to be working in concert with the defensive line, getting pressure and kind of helping the Dallas Cowboys. I really do think that the Cowboys are going to have quite a few opportunities to get their hands on the ball in this game just because of how Deshaun Watson tends to play, especially when he's under pressure. So you take those two, and those will be the Cowboys' path, at least to the defense, kind of keeping the game close enough for the offense to hopefully be able to do something in this game. The one thing that also could throw this all in a loop, I know I talked a lot about the outside weapons as well as the interior offensive line. Because their interior offensive line is so good, I mean, Jerome Ford, man, he can hit a home run. So the Cowboys need to, what do we always talk about? Stop the run. They need to stop Jerome Ford. They need to stop Pierre Strong. They need to stop Deontay Foreman. And they also, to an extent, need to stop Deshaun Watson. One of the ways Deshaun Watson can still hurt you is if he is a little bit aware and he gets outside of the pocket and uses his legs to get a first down. The thing that always hurts defenses so much is getting an offense to that 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. You've got everything covered up. You put some pressure on the quarterback. He breaks contain. He gets 9 yards. He slides. And now you're back broken. You're back to first down. And then you're back to them, lining up, heavy set, running Jerome Ford down your throat, running Strong down your throat, running Foreman down your throat. And you need to just, when you have your opportunities this game to get that Cleveland Browns offense off of the field, you got to take advantage of it. You can't have the 3rd down penalties or the face masking or the pass interference. Those types of mistakes are definitely going to lose you a game against a team like this week. I mean, even though the Browns were, I think they were 10-7 last year, 11-6, something like that. They are a pretty formidable team, and they play a style of football offensively that challenges our traditional notions of the Cowboys defense. I don't know if under Mike Zimmer some of these other problems are going to go away. I don't know if Mozzie Smith, Linville Joseph, Jordan Phillips, Osa Odighizuwa will be able to close down that gap in the middle and force Cleveland to do some of the things that I pointed out would help us, as in getting to passing situations, letting Micah Parsons tee off, get to that quarterback, force him to make mistakes, right? We have to do the ugly thing first to get to the pretty thing. So we got to do that dirty work. We got to stop the run. We got to clog up the middle, muddy up the trenches, let the Browns know, hey, this is not going to be when you played us, 2 or 3 years ago and you ran for 260 yards. You can't let the Cleveland Browns just control the clock and grind the Cowboys down to a nub. So that's, pretty much what I got for you today. Tomorrow I'll jump on the other side and kind of, do the Cleveland Browns defense against the Cowboys offense. Same thing, break down the positions, break down who's dangerous, and kind of see a way that we might be able to have a path to success, and then, after that, later on this week, Friday, I'll give you my prediction for the game after we go through everything. We take a look, we get all the injury reports, we know all the players, we know what's going to, be the matchups that we're looking at. We'll get some predictions in there, have some fun, and see if I'm right or see if I'm wrong. And, you guys can give me crap about it in the comments if you want and all that good stuff. So, this has been Knockers on the Bottom. Hit me up on Twitter. It's at JMillerIYL. That's J Miller if you like. You can also hit me up via email. It's knockersonthebottom@outlook.com. Again, knockersonthebottom@outlook.com. You can also leave your comments below, and if you submit any questions, anything like that, put it together in like a mailbag format, make it a regular segment. But until then, love you guys. J Miller if you like. This has been Knockers on the Bottom. Peace.